But with that being said, we're going to move on to the next segment, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on the rumored boxing card for Saudi Arabia in February 2025. Now, nothing is confirmed or official, but in the boxing world, if you follow the boxing news, there is a lot of fights that are slated to happen for February 2025 in Saudi Arabia. But if the following fights I say, most of these fights get put on this card, this has the chance of being one of the biggest cards in boxing history, with the stars, pound for pound greats, a part of this sport right now. If majority of these fights get made on this card, one of the best boxing cards in boxing history. But let's get into the first fight. It's rumored that we will see Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker for the IBF heavyweight title. Now, this looks like this are just rumors, but if this happens, it is slated to be the main event of the Saudi card in February 2025. Now, Daniel Dubois just pulled off one of the biggest upsets that we've seen in the heavyweight division in quite some time, where he knocked out Anthony Joshua, beat him pillar to post a few months ago at Wembley Stadium. He sent Anthony Joshua, one of the greatest heavyweights of this generation, to the canvas not once, not twice, not 3 times, but you guessed it, 4 times, and knocked him out in the 5th round, belt the ass, all 5 rounds being in favor of Daniel Dubois. One of the best performances I've seen, and one of the biggest upsets I've seen in recent memory in the sport of boxing. So we're seeing a red-hot Daniel Dubois unfold in front of our eyes in the best run of his career right now as the reigning defending heavyweight champion. And realistically, I keep bringing it up, but realistically, if you count Daniel Dubois' body shot above the belt line that he landed on Alexander Usyk last summer, if that counted, it would have been a 5th round knockout, and he would have been possibly still the undisputed heavyweight champion in the sport of boxing right now. So that is a lot to, well, I would say unified, because the titles weren't undisputed at the time, but you guys get what I'm saying. He would have defeated Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua this early into his boxing career. Now, Joseph Parker here is also on the best run of his boxing career, with impressive wins in recent memory in his last 2 outings against Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang. So Joseph Parker both of these fighters are actually coming into their own and on the best runs of their respective boxing careers right now. I think this could be a fun fight at the heavyweight division. Now, Danny Dubois is a very dangerous heavyweight fighter, tremendous speed, packs a punch, very powerful in that boxing ring. His IQ is growing. He's growing as a fighter. He's maturing as a fighter. He's not a quitter. And he's maturing to be one of the best in the heavyweight division right now. And Joseph Parker is in the best run of his boxing career. He's starting to mature and settle down in the boxing ring as well. So I think that it would be a tremendous fight for February. And I think, truthfully, the winner of that fight, depending on what happens with Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, that rematch in a few weeks, could find themselves in an undisputed heavyweight title fight, and at some point in 2025. And this is going to be a good fight between Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker once it is made official. Now, next fight on the card would be Arthur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol, once again in a rematch for the undisputed light heavyweight titles. Now, I will say this. This will be a late Christmas gift. If we get this February 2025, the rematch that quickly between Arthur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol for the undisputed light heavyweight titles, once again in the sport of boxing, because that fight that we saw a few months ago between these two respective fighters was a classic chess match. It was a pure classic undisputed fight between 2 top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport of boxing. It was great. And I think once this card is official, it has to main event. This fight between Beterbiev and Bivol, the rematch has to main event over Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker, that is rumored to be the main event for the IBF heavyweight title. And I think it would be interesting to see the adjustments that each respective fighter has made from the first fight between Arthur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. No matter how you had it scored, I said Dmitry Bivol won the first fight, but no matter how you had it scored, it was close, it was neck and neck. And there's argument for who won the first fight. But I want to see the adjustments that could be made. I want to see if Dmitry Bivol can finish in the championship rounds. I want to see if Arthur Beterbiev has a cheat code for stopping the jab that Dmitry Bivol was pumping on him throughout the fight. I want to see if these adjustments can be made. And I want to see if somebody can get finished in the second fight between Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. So definitely fingers crossed that we do get that on this Saudi card for February 2025. Definitely be a late Christmas gift to me and a lot of boxing fans out there. Now, here we go. Next fight. Well, this fight ain't happening anymore. But Jaron Ennis versus Vergil Ortiz was rumored to be a part of this February Saudi Arabia card. But the plans for that are officially canceled and scrapped. Negotiations have fell apart. Now, it is sad. This scenario is sad to me to hear that Jaron Ennis and Eddie Hearns and his team offered a fight against Vergil Ortiz at 147 instead of going up to 154 to fight Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz, I'm still flabbergasted about this. Look, this is a duck. I'm sorry. Jaron Ennis, Eddie Hearns, and Jaron Ennis' team offering a fight to Vergil Ortiz at 147, knowing that Vergil Ortiz nearly killed himself trying to make that weight a few years ago, had to go to the hospital, being ill and sick trying to make 147. They knew this, and Vergil Ortiz has been fighting at 147 for the last year or so. So Jaron Ennis offering him a fight for the IBF title at 147, that just tells me that's a duck. Did Jaron Ennis or not, has he not been calling out Terence Crawford at 154 for a long time, but you don't want to fight Vergil Ortiz at 154? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Terence Crawford is obviously the more dangerous fighter than Vergil Ortiz. So why do you have a problem getting in the ring with Vergil Ortiz? Jaron Ennis actually said after his performance against John Jukajan immediately in that boxing ring, he said, "I'm going up to 154. That was my last fight at 147. So why are you ducking the smoke against Vergil Ortiz at 154? If you want the big time fights, Eddie Hearns, for Jaron Ennis, they're at 154, not 147. This is a dead division right now. With Terence Crawford, Earl Spence no longer fighting at this division. All the top guys are at 154, so why are you not pursuing that? And I don't understand why his team wouldn't pursue it. Jaron Ennis and Vergil Ortiz both look suspect in their last fights. Defensively, Jaron Ennis made a lot of mistakes against John Jukajan. Vergil Ortiz got dropped twice in his last fight at 154. So I think this would have been 50-50. What was the problem here? Jaron Ennis, knowing his team offer, he could have this excuse all he wants on social media, and I like him a lot. But it's a bad look knowing that your promoter that you just signed with, Eddie Hearns, who is trying to take you to the promised land to get these big-time fights, to continue to build your name up in the sport. You get this offer against Vergil Ortiz, and you want it at 147? Knowing this guy can't make the weight anymore? Obvious duck to me. So Jaron Ennis just missed out on his biggest payday of his boxing career as far as I'm concerned. They're going to get a replacement for Vergil Ortiz, but it's sad that Jaron Ennis and Vergil Ortiz, in my opinion, a 50-50 fight, could have been an exciting fight on the card, has fell apart because Jaron Ennis' team might not believe in him. Eddie Hearns might not believe in him. Giving Vergil Ortiz a fight at 147, give me a break. Things like this is what make boxing fans sick. And look, I hope something happens, something magical happens, that we get this fight on the card. But as far as I'm concerned, Jaron Ennis has officially ducked Vergil Ortiz. Now, last fight on this card, this should be an interesting one between Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda. Now, Shakur Stevenson he was already slated to fight on this February card in Saudi in 2025, but it was supposed to be against William Zepeda. William Zepeda, after his fight against Tevin Farmer, has a hand injury and he's sidelined to miss some time, so he's unavailable for that fight. So now Shakur Stevenson has found a new dance partner, a new fighter that Golden Boy Promotions and Oscar De La Hoya has, and that being Floyd Schofield. So this could be an interesting fight at the lightweight division. So, in my opinion, yes, it could be interesting, but I have to lean towards Shakur Stevenson because Floyd Schofield, he's so young in his career. He's still wet behind the ears. He's 22 years of age. He might have bitten off more than he could chew. He has no championship experience, has not been in the ring with anybody at the level, even close to the level of Shakur Stevenson. Oscar De La Hoya has slowly built him up slowly but surely in this lightweight division. And he got dropped in his last fight, so he didn't even look that good. You're going into a fight against a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter, Shakur Stevenson. His dad is the mouthpiece to him building. His dad is the mouthpiece of Floyd Schofield being built up as a star. With his dad barking up and chirping up a storm, yeah, I want the Gervonta Davises. Yeah, I want the Shakur Stevensons in the lightweight division. Well, now this time you might have talked yourself into a fight that you don't really want your son a part of. Because I'm telling you now, Oscar De La Hoya was already iffy about giving Floyd Schofield the green light to pursue this fight. He said no at first, but through DMs, they worked it out. But I don't know. I think Floyd Schofield, this is too early in his career to pursue a fight like this against Shakur Stevenson. Because Shakur Stevenson is not even a knockout artist. But let's say Shakur Stevenson does knock out Floyd Schofield. How much does that hurt his confidence? How much does that hurt him moving forward in the sport of boxing, knowing you failed this early in your career? And yeah, people could say that is good exposure for him. But sometimes it's the way how you get beat. The way you get dismantled and dominated can break a boxer's will. And he does not have the experience to get in there against a fighter like Shakur Stevenson just yet. So, very surprised that Oscar De La Hoya gave him, Floyd Schofield, the green light for this fight. We'll see how this plays out. But I think that fight is going to be a lock for the Saudi card, with the WBC lightweight title being on the line. But those are my thoughts on the rumored Saudi Arabia card, February 2025, in the sport of boxing.